Welcome, friends. The Washington, D.C. United Lodge of Theosophists promulgates the ancient wisdom religion known as Theosophy, as it was passed on by the great founders of the Theosophical movement through their mouthpiece, Helena P. Blavatsky, her staunch colleague, William Q. Judge, and Robert Crosby, who resurrected pure Theosophy in 1909. The path we are on leads to wisdom. This path is not easy to walk. It is stated that it is like a razor's edge, and that it requires tremendous self-induced and self-devised effort and virtuous living, thus becoming monastic, in the sense that we are here to serve all humanity. ULT lodges throughout the world subscribe to the ULT Declaration, which can be found in its entirety in the first half of the back of our quarterly program. The ULT Declaration speaks of independent devotion to the cause of Theosophy without professing attachment to any theosophical organization. Its work and end is dissemination and exemplification in practice of the fundamental principles of the philosophy of Theosophy. It welcomes to its association all who are engaged in the true service of humanity and who desire to fit themselves by study and otherwise to be the better able to help and teach others. ULT DC meets online via Google Meet every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. On the first Sunday of each month, there is a talk on a selected topic, followed by a question and answer period. Talks are given at the ULT DC Lodge in the Moore Green Historic District, 9850 Flint Rock Road, Manassas, Virginia, 20112. Talks are recorded on YouTube and can also be found through our Facebook and Instagram pages, as well as our website, www.ultdc.org. Today's talk is on karma. Our talk for November 7th will be on gratitude, November being the Thanksgiving month. Next Sunday, we will be continuing on Google Meet with our readings and discussions on the proam to the secret doctrine. All are welcome to participate with us on Google Meet. If you are not registered with us, please send a request to ultdclodge@gmail.com and we will send you an invitation to participate. And over here is the link that we'll send you to, so all you have to do is click on it. There are no fees, dues, or collections. The lodge being sustained by voluntary contributions in time, work, and money. And the idea is to please do what you can, check with your inner self, and see how important this message is, and work your way into the program. You can do whatever you can. We'd love to have you join us to help us continue this work. Interwoven throughout the philosophy are three fundamentals. These three fundamentals appear in the laws of nature. So we really must try to understand them. They are summarized within the proam, which summarizes the three fundamentals starting on page 14 of the Secret Doctrine. As we internalize the validity of this philosophy, you're not asked to believe anything. Check your inner intuition. It's through our own intuition we make this philosophy a living power to guide us throughout our everyday thought and action. The first fundamental is unity of all existence. The rootless root of all that was, is, or ever shall be. Underlying the mysterious link between mind and matter is the principle that electrifies every atom. And we're all made up of millions of those atoms. So every atom of our life is electrified. The real cause of this link and all existence remains forever hidden. Although we can come to understand through our own intuition and study that there is an absolute unity, a deific essence that spreads to all through what we call the great breath. Every man is a direct ray from the absolute. Those eternal pilgrims, making sustained efforts, can become one with the absolute, a God. So we honor the gods as superior beings to emulate, but not as being outside of ourselves. The second fundamental brings out an analogy between the processes of nature and the cosmos and an individual man. Day and night, life and death, sleeping and waking. There are many, many examples to add to that. Hello. Man's lower principles disintegrate in time, and nature uses them again with their various imprints from past uses to form new human principles. The same process takes place in disintegration and formation of worlds. There is the perpetual exchanges of atoms correlating and changing their combining equivalents like a perfect flower dying in order to grow a perfect fruit. The one universal life evolves but is independent of what science regards as matter. Man himself punishes and rewards his deeds throughout cycles of matter and cycles of spiritual evolution, racial, national, and individual cycles. We have cycles going on all the time. Short cycles and big, huge cycles. The circle of necessity of rebirth and suffering is cycle 2. As above, so it is below. The third fundamental focuses on the idea of consciousness. There is no such thing as dead matter or blind matter. There is no unconscious law. The whole order of nature is progressively marching toward a higher life. The very fact that adaptations do occur, that the fittest do survive, shows that what is called unconscious nature is in reality an aggregate force, the mind of the universe and its immutable law. The whole series of life and the unbroken series of manifestations. Each entity must have won for itself the right to become divine through self-experience. That's why we keep coming here to learn these things. The physical evolves gradually from the spiritual, mental, and psychic. Elementals are all future men. No man has ever reached adeptship in his secret sciences in one life. We have never attained nor even understood the extent of the powers of the human heart. Every heart in the universe vibrates to the iron string. Trust thyself. Today's reading comes from page 20 of the Bhagavad Gita. The man whose desires enter his heart as waters run into unswelling passive oceans, which, though ever full, yet does not quit its bed, obtaineth happiness. Not he who lusteth in his lust. The man who, having abandoned all desires, acts without covetousness, selfishness, or pride, deeming himself neither actor nor possessor, attains to rest. This, O son of Pritha, is dependence upon the Supreme Spirit, and he who possesses it goeth no more astray. Having obtained it, therefore, therein, established at the hour of death, he passeth on to nirvana in the Supreme. So now we're going to have today's talk on karma.
Good morning and welcome, friends, to the talk about karma, the great nemesis, the law of redemption, the providence. Welcome to karma. When we think of karma, when everything goes well in life, we say, just life. Just things as usual. And when something hits the fan, we say, oh, that's karma. So what we'll do today, we will attempt to demystify karma and that point of view from a theosophical perspective. And we'll also examine what do we do with that karma. Can karma be changed? What is our role in karma? And what as a human beings can we do in response? How do we create karma? So first, when we speak of karma, we cannot even start the discussion without the understanding of the second fundamental of Theosophy, that is reincarnation. That this life is not the beginning, not the end, we are on the journey that is eternal. And the important fact from the Theosophies that I want to bring in, that maybe some are not as aware, is about the number of monads circulating in the manifest world. That in a Christian faith we believe that when a baby is born, the soul is created for each one. From the theosophical standpoint of view, as HPB taught us in The Secret Doctrine and Isis Unveiled, she clearly stated that the number of monads stopped coming into the manifestation somewhere at mid-Atlantean period. So basically, the number of monads was created then, and since then we have been recirculating the same monads in our pilgrimage from the source to the source. And now I'll try to demonstrate the path of the pilgrimage. And you probably heard many times the journey of the pilgrim. That's who we are on this journey. So there is the source, and that's the first fundamental of Theosophy. This is the omnipotent, omnipresent, unknown, and unknowable. And this is sort of the goal where we're headed to, but the goal is the same source. So on the path of our pilgrimage, it is the source experiencing itself. It is us, the manifest monads, that will go through the journey of our experiences and our evolution to rejoin the source. And so eternal. And you may remember the night and day of Brahma. So what happens on that pilgrimage? Why can't we just be born, live in Devachan, happily ever after, then rejoin the source? Well, that's unfortunately not how it works, and it is for our own benefit. Once we begin the journey, from the beginning till the end, we are in a state of action. We cannot be motionless. We are motion. And even so that often in Buddhism you hear about the complete neutrality of not creating karma, of not creating action. Manifestation, life, existence by itself is action. And with each step we create karma, and that's inevitable. That's what it is to be incarnate. Once we are not incarnate, we don't create action. But once we're incarnate on this earth, in this incarnation, this is what we do. And I want to read a very beautiful passage from HPB on karma. This is from ISIS. Karma does not act. It is action itself. From birth to death, every person is weaving thread by thread around himself a spider web of his own creation. So from birth to death, through every action, every breath we take, we do create karma, a web of our own creation. Now let's make it more complicated. This is the pilgrim. This is you and me on our journey to perfection, to evolution, to joining source. We are here. But the probably most important, most fundamental precept of the Theosophy is the unity of all. And I'll read a few passages to explain also the unity of karma. That in fact there is no separate karma, yours, mine, his, hers, all united on invisible planes. We may feel separate here in our incarnation, but on invisible plane there is no separation, all is united. And we affect each other through thought, feeling, and action. And when we speak how we affect each other through thought, feeling, and action, it is quite simple. No one starts with action. Nobody wakes up and just does something malicious. We start with emotion. There is an emotion that's rising in us. And even the word by itself, emotion, is basically moving into motion. So our motion starts with emotion that then ferments itself in a thought process and then results in an action. And I very much like the saying that if we do not control our emotions control us. And this is one of the distinctions on how we manage our karma, how we manage our actions. We are continually helping or hindering others in building their character. Your karma, this is from the Theosophical movement, actually August publication. Your karma is interwoven with the great karma. So now we take this nice pilgrimage and we literally crisscross it like this. There are pilgrims on every journey you can imagine in this incarnation walking with us. And any action by any one of us that creates karma will pull the thread in this sort of woven fabric of existence and will shift the entire paradigm of this fabric. And I very much like that also from the Theosophical movement in August, how you can pull the thread with one action of your karma and that will reshift the entire web of existence that exists here and now. And something else that I wanted to read is it's very much backed up by a purely scientific theory today, by the IKEA theory, and that's on butterfly effect. So basically butterfly effect speaks of the same as pulling the thread of karma with one of our actions that reshifts the web of existence. And the passage goes as following. The IKEA theory, butterfly effect, is the sensitive dependence on initial conditions in which small change in one state of deterministic nonlinear system can result in large difference in a later state. So once we realize that there is no personal karma, there is universal karma, and we act within it, and with one action of our karma we affect the entire existence, I would like to invite you to examine what is the nature of karma from theosophical standpoint. And that concept often is misunderstood. So again, I want to read a passage on that. That is basically saying that karma is an unknown universal deity. Basically, the unknown universal deity is represented by karma, and it's neither wrath nor mercy, only absolute equity. Every cause works out inevitable effect. And again, this is a very different perspective from Christianity, where karma is perceived as a certain destiny, certain design, certain will of God of how we move through this life, certain path. The karma in theosophical view completely does not take away our liberty. It does not design anything. It does not create anything. It simply reacts to our actions. So we are the ultimate creators. We are the ultimate designers of our life. But there are certain universal forces that rebalance and adjust what we do. The other description of karma is the absolute and eternal law in the world of manifestation. So if it is an absolute universal law in the world of manifestation, what does this law accomplish to do? If it has no purpose of its own, it does not try to punish us, it does not judge us, it doesn't really design the life for us, there is no plan. We are the plan. So what the universal law tries to do is to maintain certain equilibrium in the universe. And it is almost same as the, we can compare to the law of gravity. It is just there. There is certain equilibrium that universe wants to maintain with all of our incarnations and existence in it. And it will be balancing each one of us against that baseline. To create positive karma, not negative, the most important thing is to understand what is the equilibrium. What is universe trying to achieve? Otherwise, we're completely struggling in the dark. What causes us harm? What causes the good? And especially the question comes, and many people struggle with that. They would question, why is it that they're doing only good and right things, and they're hit over and over in life with negative karma? Karma can be positive, but with the negative consequences of karma. So I'd like to break it down from the theosophical standpoint. So let's see that this part of the iceberg, the top of the iceberg over equilibrium, so the selfish and malicious acts, where we basically know that we want something for ourselves, we are going against the universal equilibrium and balance of unity, and we're being readjusted back to that equilibrium. So this is easy. We all know this. What happens when the individual is not doing anything wrong, but they are still experiencing negative effect of karma, and they're still brought to equilibrium? And what is the learning from that? How do you even comprehend it? How do you comprehend the loss, grief, death that you have not really caused? So one of the explanations is again going back to the reincarnation, the causes and effects resulting from the past lives. But I'm sure it's not much of comfort to many of us because we don't remember them, and we question, why should we suffer for something that we cannot even recall? So I'll try to focus on the positive actions, negative results within this lifetime. And there's actually a very good saying in the Bible that says that road to hell is laid out with the good intentions. And it's very, very insightful because we may be of good intentions, but these intentions do not bring us to the equilibrium. And here I would like to share a quite interesting discovery that the student had while preparing yesterday for this talk. Again, this is from the Theosophical movement, and this will be from August edition, so I very much encourage everyone to look at it. And this is about the frames of mind, that when you are experiencing negative karma, when you're actually not causing any harm to anyone, we all have certain frames of mind, and we exist in those frames of mind. And for the comparison reason, I will compare it to the bolt that is very tightly attached on the screw. And the screw can see only one corner of the room. And it's very fixed. So same as our consciousness. Our consciousness is very fixed to one corner of the view, to one perspective, to one way to understand the existence, the creation, the universe, our flow within the existence in the one. So we're very fixed in that view. It's positive, but it's fixed. When we experience the effects of karma, It is like the lubricant. It's that loosening effect on that screw that allows the bolt of our consciousness to shift and see the entirety of the room, the entirety of existence, that not may conform to our very positive and good views, but it allows to see much more than we could ever imagine. And I want to read the passage from the Theosophical movement on this. As we know, when the karma hits, our nervous vitality and nervous system is in shreds. And here is what it says about this moment. When our nervous vitality is exhausted, then the force of the thought that come from outside have a greater power than the power of thoughts produced by us. So we enter a new sensitivity field where we're able to perceive the thoughts coming from outside and not just to be in our own reality. We are then impelled by outside thoughts. This happens most easily with people who are like sponges, porous and bibulous, ready to absorb every thought coming from outside. We call them sensitives and mediums. And they are drawing these thoughts and are hypnotized by astral light. So now I also want to look a little bit in the concept of astral light. Astral light is basically a registry with all acts, thoughts, desires of which one that is reflected back to us. So when your bolt is very tight and your consciousness is very fixed on your point of view, you only see your point of view. There is absolutely no ability to connect with the astral light. The force of karma will even physically basically affect your nervous system and will shift your perspective to the point that you have no choice but to start hearing the voices from outside and connecting to the astral light and the knowledge within astral light to reshift your paradigm, to reshift what you can see. And with that, you achieve the equilibrium. Because if you're just looking at one corner, we are not able to achieve the equilibrium of being with one. The equilibrium is basically, it's the unity. It's the unity and not being stuck in self, even in a self-positive perceptions. The other reason why sometimes positive actions create negative karma, we probably heard the saying, one loved someone to death. That we, full of love, we want good things, and it doesn't create anything good. And why would that happen? The equilibrium, the unity, is not just in giving that love, be it our partners, our children, even our animals, but accepting them in that first principle of Theosophy, of being unknown, unknowable, omnipresent gods they are. And accepting that reality. And again, to accept that reality, the karmic laws have to shift ours and bring us into the equilibrium and unity. So that's on readjustment that takes place within us. Now, what happens when we are actually in the midst of karma? Basically, we are in the hands of karma and we are being thrown by it. How do you start readjusting where you are, and how do you start comprehending what is happening and how to shift to the positive? Because you are in that pain, in that sort of point of loosening up, and that's always very, very painful. I would like to bring another theosophical concept here in, that is a law of similarity. Like attracts like. And that's why we often hear, gotta shift yourself. Try to shift yourself when you are in a certain state. Like attracts like, and this is the basic law of similarity. And when we are struck by karma, I would like to go and examine the stages of grief and show the law of similarity, how it acts within the stages of grief. So when we are in the first stage of grief, that is denial. This is not happening. This is not true. It cannot be. It just cannot be. It will all change. Denial is not accepting the other for who they are, not accepting their divine creative power to be, not seeing in them the first principle of Theosophy, that omnipresent, omnipotent, unknown and unknowable. So we are not accepting, we are denying the divine nature of the other human being. The same will reflect to us. The karma will reflect to us what will reflect to the universe. When we go to the next stage is anger. How could this be done to me? How could this situation befall me? Why did this person did this and that, and I don't deserve this. When we're in a state of anger, we are projecting anger into the universe. And the karmic law will reflect back anger. It can reflect nothing else. Once again, it does not punish, it does not design, it does not create. It reflects our state. When we move to the next state, that is bargaining. Can we do this? Can this work? If I do this, will you do that? This implies scarcity. This is neediness. This is scarcity. There is not enough. If I just give a little bit, can you give a little bit back? When the universe is a universe of abundance. So the scarcity will be reflected back. That's the law of karma. And once again, it's not punishing us, it's reflecting back through the law of similarity of what we're projecting in. And why the last stage of grief is so important, and that stage is acceptance. Because with acceptance, we come to the equilibrium. We come to that ultimate state. It is what it is, and everything is well, and everything is fine, and everything is in balance, even though it may not feel like this to us. But acceptance is coming into the internal state of equilibrium that the law of karma or law of redemption trying to always bring us into, in a state of acceptance. It's easy said, hard done, how to come into the law of acceptance. And I also want to make a little passage into a separate topic, and that's the relationship of Vishnu and Shiva, of the creator and the destroyer. They are one God, they are both. The Vishnu creates, the Shiva destroys. In a way, as above, so below. We are the creators and we are the destroyers. We have right to create, we have right to preserve, we have right to destroy, and we have right to create again. And this is the right of each one of us. So whenever you, and another thought on the karma is, when we speak of karma, it seems something external. It is not. Karma is actions of each one of us. It's actions of the man. And what I've read also in the Theosophical movement was basically saying that if man would not hurt his brother, karma would have no weapons. So it is man hurting the man and creating the actions of karma on each other. So how do you stop the cycle? And that's probably the most important. What lessons do we derive from Theosophy? How can it guide us in those moments to stop the action and reverse it? To change that vibration that from which we are acting and attracting in terms of negativity. The first that I have gathered from the readings is the power of no judgment. There is no judgment. We tend to jump into the judgment. This was wrong. How could this he do, she do, they do to me? Why that person is like this? They're evil, I am good. So we jump immediately into the judgment. Judgment is the denial of the unknowable, unknown divine nature to the other individual. We don't remember the first graph was all of the pilgrimages intertwined into one fabric. With judgment, we're denying them that we may never know their fabric of existence, their fabric of karma, their soul. We can never know the other fully, as we can never know divine. So the other is divine walking in the human shoes right now. So no judgment, saying I stay in unknowable, I stay in unknown, I accept unknown. And I allow other to be Vishnu or to be Shiva. They will create, they will destroy, they will create again. The second one is not following bad advice. And we always jump into the conclusions that we hear things at school, we hear things at church, our family told us, their blogs and Facebook and this, and they all say how to defend ourselves and how we should act in situations. And I will bring you to the Theosophical teaching on this, but just leave all that advice. And you will say, but it's for our own protection. Our society created all of this to protect us from being hurt. And so we created Nazism, and so we created 2 world wars, and so we created racism, and so we created slavery, and so we created Inquisition. And it was taught at school, and it was taught at church, and it was taught within the families. The only measure, and the only measure to apply when you are thinking how to react, how to make the next action, is does it lead me into separation or does it lead me into unity? If it does not lead you in the unity, do not make that step. That's what Theosophy teaches. There is very simple measure of equilibrium. Does it lead us into unity? No matter how painful it is. If yes, make the action. If it leads you into separation from whatever it may be, fear, loss, judgment, the step is not needed. And the last one, when you are in the midst of this turmoil of karma, just step up. One step up. We are all on the Jacob's ladder of evolution. We are moving from the source to the source at a higher level. Stepping up on that ladder of evolution. One vibration up. In unity, in connection, in love, in acceptance, in equilibrium that is maintained in the universe. And when we hear that somebody below on that ladder screaming and shrieking, be it in anger or fear, just give them a hand. Be the angel you always wanted to have. Thank you.
Wow.
No.
Any questions? Well, I think we have some time to discuss.
Should we go out on the Google Meet first?
Yeah, let's go to the Google Meet.
Anybody on Google Meet have a comment or question?
Beautiful talk. Beautiful talk. Felt all of that.
Very, very educational in a few minutes.
Yes.
I didn't realize that we had that much power.
Sometimes we don't feel it, indeed.
No, when I first started in Theosophy, I thought, wow, we don't have it. You know, we're sort of way down the totem pole, but this puts us up to the head if we want to get there. We have to do it ourselves, right?
And it is a choice to step up and not to step up. And when we do step up, that's when we'll fail a million times, but one time we succeed. That's when we feel ourselves godlike. Not godlike, we feel also God, because we have the choice. We're not the puppets of the past, of the beliefs, of the religions, of the hurts. That's the choice.
Question. The typical response to when something negative happens to us is, what did I do to deserve this? Based on your talk, there's a lot of factors involved. And we established the equilibrium there, and that's really not the right question if I understood your talk correctly. It's not what I did, but it is what I did too. I contribute to all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. It
But
is,
there's many there are other factors involved in it. And maybe we're not seeing the whole picture if we ask that question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we often focus on what did I do to deserve it. The way to reframe it, what did I not see? What did I not see?
You talk about universal karma versus individual karma. So does it mean that individual karma does not exist, or it's less important? Could you clarify that?
Mm-hmm. I'll go back to the second picture. So the so to say the universe, and we speak of the universal karma. Actually, once we come in incarnation, the universe breaks down into the millions, billions drops of us. And we all move into action. So it is the universe through us moves into action in millions of directions, billions of directions. And as I showed in that sort of that graph where our pilgrimage is so crisscrossed with the pilgrimages of all those millions of people, that it is hard to say that one of us can have individual karma. Each smallest action of each one of us will affect actions of others, their journey, their perspective, their experience, and with that, the entire universe. Basically, all of us acting in all the separate ways is just the universe that divided into little drops. It's ocean in the little drops, but it's still karma of the ocean.
Hello.
You're,
I
you're,
don't know if it's just me, but in my screen I cannot see the board where the speaker is writing. If the camera could move to the right a little bit.
I just moved it, Carolina, and the picture here shows the board is on, so it's in there.
It could show to you, but
Is it
especially
better?
me, I don't know about the others.
Is it better now? Cyrus, is it better?
See the door, for example.
Yeah.
I need to see the speaker and the board.
So just scribbles, I can.
Yeah, did you see?
Thomas, you have a reflection on the light above, so how do you see what they write?
Oh, it's the reflection of light,
Is
okay.
it more to the right? Then we don't need to see
A little bit more to the right?
Yes. There,
Okay.
yes.
Good.
But still, it's, I think that the presentation was so profound, but it's so, the font or the writing is not here. I cannot see anything, but I'm.
Well,
There's not much, Alice.
It's not much, Sandra was also
Yeah,
just
just
showing
scribbles.
examples, but it didn't really take very well on the board
Yeah.
either. We're not seeing much either.
Yeah, there's not much.
Moving on to my comment, and if that could be rephrased by the speaker, would be nice in case this is being recorded. Knowing this philosophy, I stopped saying why me when things happen. And life happens, we know. And we have so many obligations that come at us at very inconvenient times. But my comment is that knowing the philosophy, it doesn't make it any easier. Still, I'm like any other human being. I'm human. And knowing that I created this doesn't make it easier. I don't know if you have anything to add to that. Thank you.
Okay. On this, I'll return to what I've mentioned, that million times we will not step up. Million times it will feel horribly painful and it will not work. But maybe in a day, maybe in 3 days, maybe in 3 eons, we will make that choice. And that's when we act as a God. Then we will have that power of a God. But it won't happen in the first instant. Still not happening for probably most of us, but it's a choice to step up from that feeling where you are and just be more.
To add to that, is it the purpose of this philosophy to make life easier? Or is it the purpose of this philosophy to help us understand who we are? And if we understand who we are, then we can more balance ourselves on that razor's edge that was mentioned in the introduction. It's tough to do, especially to get started, because we're not trained to do this kind of thing, and especially started to say in the Western world, but nowhere in the world can I think of how we're trained to do this. We have to I think imbibe our soul in this, which is who we are.
Okay, I have an additional comment regarding the same topic. And I remember years back saying to a friend, explaining what this philosophy is, and I said to her, this will not solve your problems, but it will make you understand.
Yeah,
There's a lot of background noise.
yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. It will not solve our problem, but it also tells us that it's a solvable problem. The speaker talked about unity. Acting to unify is very important. Harmony is one of the parameters that I can think of. So we have to work toward that and realize that we are part of the problem, or we're part of the solution.
And I also like to add that things in the nature are mostly neutral. We give them meaning. And we give them meaning based on what we learned at school, what we learned at home, what we learned at church, what we learned in our neighborhood. And often the concepts and beliefs we created don't serve us. They serve to protect us, but they don't serve to make us free and happy. So really examining, does it lead me to separation of unity, and step up to unity.
Yeah, free and happy, that's, of course, external things can affect that.
Yeah.
But we can be free and happy and be in jail.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's internal. You had a question?
Oh, I'll just talk to you later about it.
Oh, it will be interesting for others. It will be interesting for others.
Well, we have that whole concept of I'm a good person. I did all the good things and all the right things, right? And that whole helping someone out, lifting up, right? Unity. But then bad happens.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that whole mindset that we are raised into in that world, right? So let's say, for all intents and purposes, like Mahatma Gandhi level, doing everything right, helping out for others, unity in one. And you're still given the bad karma. Or the bad instances that happen. Is it just bad luck that everyone else's fabric interweaves in yours and you just get the short end of the stick every time? Or what is the explanation for that?
On this, again, I want to come back to loving everyone, doing things for everyone, and I'll give you one, sorry for sharing personal example, but in the question and answer I will. One time there was an individual who was extremely helpful to me. And this person said, the only thing I regret that you don't believe like me in the Jesus Christ. Because I do this for you in the name of Jesus Christ. And I said, do it in my name. When we do good things into the other, we often do it for ourselves, from our corner of perspective. We literally love them to death. Do it in their name. What they need, maybe not what you want to give. Sometimes they want you not to be, and you need to give that. So it's literally, do not do good deeds in the name of God or in the name of yourself. Do it in the name of your brother and sister. What they need, that may not be what you want to give.
Maybe
Maybe what they don't want to hear too is, you are God. You are God in the making.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you an opportunity to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Any issue that you run into when you try to establish balance,
Mm-hmm.
or do you make it worse?
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is acceptance. Like we can look at Jesus Christ, who've done. Like there was no wrong in him, but he was crucified and he suffered the pain. One would say that's karma. But in his mind, he came to acceptance of that. For him, it was not pain. He was in acceptance. So it's how you accept the negative karma.
Just add, I think to answer your question, if you don't see the answer within this lifetime that you did everything right and you're getting all the bad stuff, right? So I think Sandra mentioned that you could go dig deeper and think about the previous lives, and sometimes you're taking this birth specifically to repay the karmas, and you design it in a way which will be most effective and fast way to pay your all debts. So it's all your troubles, your own creation. You chose them to free yourself from that past karmas, and it's not just this life. It could be 20 lifetimes before, which is just all debt which you now have to repay.
True, and I think one of the things most of the time that happens, it's yes, we have the why me aspect, but we also have that follows it. I'm a good person. I do good. Why is my good being met?
Mm-hmm.
And that is something intrinsic that I actually talked about last week with someone, and it's something that we have to rewire, because just because good things happen to good people, good things happen to bad people, bad things happen to good and bad people, and it's sort of just how you work with it. But it's breaking that mindset of how it
Yes.
happened.
Yeah. And another thing is when you are, sometimes when bad things happen and a person hurt you, you are in pain and you say, I'm not going to be angry. I will be kind and good and forgiving because they done evil and I still want to be good. This is not a good karma. This is the ultimate arrogance, to judge someone as bad and I'm above. Being above another god is enormous arrogance, and another is just the god in work.
Well, and there are so many examples of that where, you know, this isn't to knock other religions, but you have people that are super religious. Like, let's say I knew Christians that would go to church every Sunday and their Sunday best because it was their Christian duty. But if they were, if someone needed help, they wouldn't reach out for charity or anything because they were doing what they thought was, you know, to feel better about themselves, to put themselves higher on the pedestal, as opposed to like helping out with their fellow man.
Yeah. So you see the confusion. The person thinks they're doing a good thing, and the karma hits them, and they say, "But I'm doing a good thing." They're doing good thing. That's arrogance. To perceive other as less than you.
Yeah.
It's not unity.
If I also add, you know, sometimes the bad things which happen are related, let's do a health, right? Like you have health issues, like, and you say, why am I paying with my health for something which I have not done wrong, right? But often your body is telling you something. If you're not listening to your inner voice, and again, the messages from your higher self, the higher self is using your body to teach you something, to give you a message. And if you're not listening, the level of disease will increase proportional until you hear that. So it could be an accident, it could be injury, it could be a chronic disease, it could be a cancer, but the body is telling something. So you can call it a bad karma, but it's really just a message from your higher self to your, you know, conscious mind.
Oh, I agree, and I think one of the biggest things, like when a situation happens like that, or you know, a bad situation, it's just that whole surrender and acceptance of just literally saying to the universe, like, I surrender. Let whatever happens happen for my highest good, because everyone can Monday morning quarterback like 10 years later of, oh, this is why, you know, it brought me here in life. But when you're in the moment, you're thrashing in the waves and you can't see the shore.
Very true. Yeah. Do we have more on Google Meets? But I forgot them there.
Google Meet, anybody?
I have a question. I have two questions.
Ready? Yeah.
One, touching on the topic that just came up, there is a new trend in the world called cancel culture, where people that have made any kind of transgression within the public eye gets pressure to lose their jobs, get disconnected from social media, and pretty much be ostracized from society forever. Even beyond the scope of, let's say, legal or criminal investigations, even if the person is found not guilty or the pressure is outrageous, so that the person is considered quote unquote canceled. This is like it's happening a lot with many figures. How would Theosophy, spiritual karma view this modern day trend? That's one question. The second question has to do with, because I really like the part that you touched on chaos theory and the way it has been seen, the topic of karma. Can you touch on the topic of karma at different levels? The individual level, personally, at the family level, if karma can be shared by the whole family, at a national level, as a country, and at a global level. Just curious. Those are the questions.
On cancel culture, once again, this is, I wanted to point out of not listening to the concepts we created to guide us. Because right now we created the cancel culture. And that's ultimate separation. When you look at it, it's literally ultimate separation to cancel everything that doesn't conform to your view. And the groups and individuals who profess that culture will be hit with karma inevitably, and there will be correction on both individual, social, cultural, and group level. And it's not for us to correct, it will be corrected. On the different types of karma, group, family, individual, the best way to look at it, this is again a division, a separation that we created on our social level, that there is me as individual, there is my family, there is my culture, there is my nation, there is my country. Those are all completely illusory. We are the universe that spread itself into incarnation, and our karma is universal. Yes, we do have, it's almost like, imagine the fabric of a sweater, and yes, your family may be a little spot near the elbow on the sleeve, but it's the entire sweater, and it's entire sweater even beyond Earth. It is universal. Whatever we're creating here on Earth would have an echo effect on other planets and the universe at large, that we sort of need to reshift from that. If we think in that global level, we will act much more different, rather than being lost in the details, what my group will think, how do I act towards my family. It's much bigger. We are really connected on equal bonds with everyone.
It's a very powerful thought. Yeah. In fact, if you develop that universal consciousness, not just global citizen, but universal citizen, that you actually, live at the same time on all the planets, all the universes at the same time. So you have that universal consciousness, and also that your life has impact on lives, God knows where, right? All over the universe. And they care about you from that. So.
And to add to that, there's that belief of there are multiple planets, but multiple timelines that are going on at the same time. So whereas you may fix something in this timeline, it affects all the other ones, but time is not a constant from start to finish. It is circular. So you can be doing something now that affects the past and the future. And I think similar to like the familial, karma, what I interpret that as a lot of ways is we are chosen when we decide this is life where we want to be. We are agreed to sign up for that family, the friends, the network, how we see the life before it happens. But with our family, there's karma that we have to fix with them, and also scripts that pass down from generation to generation, like bridging relationships between siblings or parents. And when we fix it in our lifetime, that helps fix them in the previous lifetimes and the future ones. So I think that it's all interwoven in the grand scheme of things, but that we sort of know what we're going in for when we encounter each individual person in our lives in whatever situation.
I wanted to share a brief anecdote. So many years ago, when I was a student at the university, I was under specific cohorts on each class, meaning each group will be a designated group for a specific year to take courses. On the class that entered a year after me, they took pride in trying to
what I actually pick up when I heard that, until you said it in the end of his perfect grades and it ruined it, that's for his ego. To change his ego where he's not worried about like, these are my grades, like that's a very ego thing, and to take himself out of basing himself on those superficial facts of like, this is my identity, and changing that identity. I think those people were horrible people, which is hard because that's me judging at the same time, and you can't, like, I get angry when I hear that, and then I'm like, well, I'm a good person, that's so wrong. But when I separated it and just listened to that aspect, it was like, oh no, it happened to him because it's his ego. He needs to get out of that, oh well, I've never gotten this low grade, because it's not about that.
Well, you look at the other and you accept that they're acting from fear, and all you have is compassion. They act from fear, they act from separation. And then you examine what is the long-term consequences to me. You know, what do I need to do to correct it for myself? But other has no consequence on me, because they are in so much fear and pain that I wish they could see it.
Just a quick comment. I was thinking in your presentation about the larger circle coming from down into matter and then going back up into spirit again. And that, I think, perfectly is aligned with that larger circle. We think about when we're coming down into matter, we get diffused and all kinds of things. The spark comes down, it's got the potential of everything in it, and then we get into the animal, the vegetable, and human, and all that stuff, kingdoms, and the plants and whatever, and then we circling back around and toward the spiritual again.
That's snake,
And that's
you
where
know,
we're
it's
at now.
symbol.
Yes, yeah. Very true.
Exactly. Something
Very
like
true. Yeah.
You know, one thought came on during the talk about the statement that the monads stopped being created sometime during the Atlantean age. You know, for me it sounds hard to believe that the creator would stop creating, you know, new monads, because in my creator always wants to learn, and the only way to learn is to create a new, you know, monads so they can go out and learn new things, right? So the process of learning is constant. So why would that process would stop? You know, what would happen suddenly if the creator would stop creating, you know, new monads? It just, it doesn't fit my mind.
This was new to me too. This was interesting to pick up, and I explained it maybe with the cycles, that in this cycle, so many created and so many transition, and then a new cycle, new monads come. But this is an entire new research for another talk. But it was very specific. I can even refer where it was stated that the monads stopped coming in during mid-Atlantean period.
It's like
And
That's a quick comment on the monads. We don't know how many there are. And, you know, because there are some that are embodied, some that are not embodied. How do we count that? But we think about that spark coming down from the unknown, and then we start understanding better as it becomes physical and these potential. And we know within ourselves that we don't fully know ourselves. There's something inside of me that I just can't, you know, I'm still learning about myself and realizing that I need to try to do a better job of knowing who I am and what this world is all about. And this philosophy has been a great help to me and help in trying to start figuring that out. And you know, we talk about Jesus, yes, in the name of Jesus and all that. Who is Jesus? Jesus is what's within your heart. And God is what's within your heart. That's what really counts. We go in our closet and think about that, meditate. Yeah.
yes, and Jesus really, as he said, I'm walking in the shoes of your brother. I'm that. And it's not doing in your name what you want to give and have salvation, not in the God's name, it's in the name of your brother. And being attuned to what he, she wants. because often we like to.
We can continue to talk, but you want to call time and maybe I can.
Yeah,
make
well, probably,
a quick
because,
comment to the folks online, because you,
yeah,
some
we
of you
probably
have
should
never seen
close.
the lodge
It's
here,
12.
and you're just seeing a little bit of it there. And what's up there, I want to show you HPV and Mr. Judge. Right, we have to turn it up some. Anyway, I've tried. Let me see what we got. There it is. That's the flowers and that's basically the width of the room here. I'm awfully close up there so you can't see all that. But at least we were successful today. We're looking forward to continuing our study of the Pro-Am next Sunday. Please join us online at Google Meet. And I'm going to turn it back over to Sandra to close it out.
I was leaving, but we will continue next Sunday at 11 a.m. on Google Meet. So we hope to see you there. And the next live meeting will be taking place first Sunday of November.
Okay.
Gratitude.
Thanks
Thank you.
everyone for participating. And for being here.
All the participants.
Thank you.
And we can edit off too.
Yeah,